Hello, let's go over the Topic 5 study guide. This will be your first major test, so please work this study guide more than once and make sure you're ready for it. Let's jump right in here. So number one, which function rule represents these data? So what you're doing is trying to match which equation matches the numbers in this table. And one thing that I noticed right off the bat is I know when x is 0 that this is my y-intercept, which is b. You know, these are all in the form y equals mx plus b. So I can see right away that my b value is 0, which means I can go ahead and mark out choice A because this one has a b value of 2, so it can't be A. And it also cannot be D because this one has a b value of positive 3. So it has to be one of these two. So really, if I can just figure out, is the slope up 2 and over 3 or up 3 and over 2? So remember, the slope is the change in y's divided by the change in the x's. So looking at the y's, if you look at the change here, it looks like each time it's going up by 2's. And if you look at the x's, each time that one's going up by 3's. And the change in the y's over the change in the x's means my slope is positive 2 over 3, which is this one, choice C. Number 2, a linear relationship is shown in the table. Write the algebraic rule in slope-intercept form. So algebraic rule is just a fancy way of saying equation. They want us to write an equation that is in slope-intercept form, which is, again, y equals mx plus b. So I need to find these two things. I need the slope and the y-intercept, just like we just did on the problem before. So let's find the slope. So from 10 to negative 2, that went up by 8. Negative 2 to 6. These all look like they're going up by 8. If you can't tell what it's going up by, take the number below and subtract the number above. So 22 minus 14 is 8. 14 minus 6 is 8. 6 minus negative 2 is 8, and so on, and you'll get this number. Okay, but I think you can tell by looking at it. Looking at these numbers, you can see that it's going up by 2 each time. So my slope, remember to put the y value on top. My slope is 8 over 2. So my value of m of 8 over 2, I really think you would reduce that to just 4 over 1 or 4. So remember, y equals mx. This is my x value. And then I need plus b. Well, remember on our other one, up here, we knew that when x was 0, the y value with it was your y-intercept. So look at this table. When x is 0, the y-intercept that's with it is your b value. So my b value is negative 2. I can write minus 2 to show that it's negative 2, or I could write it as plus negative 2. Doesn't matter which. Number 3. Which statements are true about this graph? Select all that apply. Please don't find the first one that works and quit. You must read them all and select all that apply. So first, a possible equation of the line is y is equal to 1 over 5x. When I look at this line, as I look from left to right, I can see that it's going down. I know that the slope of this line is negative. So there's no way it's up 1 over 5. So I'm going to mark out A. B, the slope of the line is negative 1 over 5. This one could be true. Is it going down 1 every time it goes over 5? Down 1 over 5? Yes, down 1 over 5. Down 1 over 5. I would say that is correct. The slope of the line is down 1 over 5. The x and y intercepts of the graphs are the same. So where is this line crossing the x-axis? It's crossing right here at 0. So my x-intercept is 0. And then my y-intercept, where it's crossing the y-axis, is also 0. So I'm going to go with yes, that is true. The slope of the line is 1/5. We have already established that the slope of the line is negative, so no. A possible equation of the line is y equals negative 1/5 x. That's true because we said that the y-intercept was 0, and this is the same thing as what we've already determined the slope is, plus 0. We just don't write the plus 0, so that one is true. I don't like those select all that apply ones. They tend to get us make us make mistakes. Number 4. A line passes through these 2 points. What is the slope of the line? So I think the way we have felt more successful finding the slope when they give us points is just to put them in a table. So here's my xy, here is my xy, and look at the change. So the y's are going from 3 to 2. So I hope you can see that it's going down 1. If you can't, type into your calculator 2 minus 3. Same here. If you don't know what this answer is, type in negative 3 minus 2. But I know if I start at positive 2 and I go down to 0 and all the way down to negative 3, I've actually gone down 5. So then my slope, remember to put this one on the top. The y value goes on top. So the change in the y's is negative 1. The change in the x's is negative 5. And 1 over 5 does not reduce, but these two negatives will cancel each other out. So my answer is positive 1 over 5. Number 5. Find the x and y intercepts, slope and slope-intercept form of the equation 2x minus 6y equals 6. Then graph the line using the intercept points. That's a lot. Okay, x-intercept. Remember to find the x-intercept. You take the c value, or the number that doesn't have the letter, so this 6, and divide by what's in front of the x, because x-intercepts happen when y is 0. So 6 divided by 2, my y-intercept is 3. If you were to write this as an ordered pair, the 3 goes in the place where the x goes, and the 0 goes in place of y. The y-intercept, that happens when x is 0, which means if I take the number without a letter and divide by the number that's in front of the y, that's my y-intercept. Be careful, because this 6 that's in front of the y has this little bitty minus sign right here, which tells me that the 6 is negative. So my y-intercept is 6 divided by negative 6. And 6 divided by negative 6 is negative 1. So my y-intercept is at negative 1. If I was going to write it in an ordered pair, I'd have to make sure the negative 1 goes second, because that's where the y value goes. All right, then they want to know the slope. Well, I can either put these in a table, or I could go ahead and plot them and count it. So if you put them in a table, you would do it just like we did up here. Just get the change, get the change. If you plot them, the x-intercept of 3, that means I'm going to find 3 on the x-axis. The y-intercept of negative 1, so I'm going to find negative 1 on the y-axis. And you can see that the line is going to go right through here. I always forget to bring my ruler over here. And you can see that the line is going up as you look from left to right, so I know my slope is positive. And it looks like for every 1 it goes up, it's going over 1, 2, 3. Up 1 over 3. So my slope is positive 1/3. I've already found my y-intercept. Y-intercept is the b. So when we say slope-intercept form, we're talking about y equals mx plus b. We've already done all the work for this question. M is the slope. B is the y-intercept. So my equation is y is equal to 1/3 x, and then it says plus b, but my b is negative, so I'm just going to write minus 1. You could also write plus negative 1. Number 6. Which function rule, so that means equation, which equation has a graph that is a line perpendicular to the graph of y, that's what f of x means, equals 3x minus 2. Alright, so here's what you need to know. If two lines are perpendicular, their slopes are negative reciprocals of one another. So the first thing I need to find is the slope of the line they gave me. Well, I can see that the slope of this line is positive 3 over 1. Okay, so if I have a slope of positive 3 over 1, to make a line that's perpendicular to that, I would have to flip this over and make it 1 over 3. And if this number was positive, this one is negative. That's what it takes to be perpendicular. So be careful about these whole numbers. If they have an understood 1 under there, write that understood 1 before you flip it over. Otherwise, you'll probably get tricked into thinking that it's negative 3. All right, so this flip to make that. This was positive. This one has to be negative. Look at your choices. This says negative 3. That's the one they're trying to trick you with. This says positive 3. This says positive 1 over 3. This is the only one that has the correct slope for a perpendicular, so I'd say that one. Number 7, write an equation that is parallel to y equals 1/2 x minus 3. When two lines are parallel, their slopes are exactly the same. So I can see that this line has a slope of positive 1/2. So they don't tell me anything else, just that it has to be parallel to this line, which means it has to be the same slope as this. This one is at minus 3. Mine can be anywhere I want. I can put my favorite number. The only number I couldn't put is the exact same as what I already had. So as long as you have the slope of 1/2 and anything beside minus 3 right here, your line is parallel. All right. Number 8. Write the equation in proper standard form. Okay, proper standard form means the x goes in front, then the y, then the equal sign, then the number. So if the x is here, it has to just jump over here to the front. Now remember, when you change the side from one side of the equal sign to the other, your number gets a sign change. So this positive 3/4 x, when I move it over, it becomes negative 3/4 x. It joins this y, which is positive, and the y didn't move, so it stays positive. Then I have my equal sign. This 6 is negative, so it's equal to negative 6. All right, it's in the right order now. Standard form is this, the ax plus by equals c. However, the leading coefficient cannot be negative, and you also cannot have any fractions or decimals. So I'm going to have to work with this one a little bit. In order to change this positive, I'll multiply by a negative. In order to make this fraction turn into a whole number, I'll multiply by the denominator. Okay, so now I'm distributing. Make sure you multiply to each part. So the negative times the negative makes it positive. This 4 up here cancels this 4 up here. So all that's left is positive 3x. Negative 4 times y is negative 4y. And negative 4 times negative 6 is positive 24. Here is my answer in standard form. X, y equals number. The first number is not negative. There are no fractions or decimals. That's how I know I'm done. This one, when I bring it to the right order, again, the x has to move to the front. When it goes to the other side of this equal sign, it gets a sign change. So 2x turns negative. It joins the y, and it equals the 5 that's still left. So literally what you've done is just picked this up and moved it over here with a sign change. Now it's in the right order. X, y equals a number. However, this first term is negative, and we've already said you can't have that. We don't have to get rid of any fractions or decimals, at least. We just have to get rid of this negative. So I'm just going to multiply everything by negative 1. That will turn this positive. Negative 1 times y, and negative 1 times 5. And here's our answer. All right, one more of these. Again, the x has to be in the front. It's negative right now, so when I move it over, it will turn positive. It joins the y, and that's equal to negative 1. And of course, this one has that fraction we have to get rid of. The first term's positive, so I don't have to worry about multiplying by a negative, but I have to get rid of this 2. So I'm going to multiply by the denominator so that these 2's will cancel. So I just have 1x, or x, whichever you prefer. I have 2 times y, and that's equal to 2 times negative 1.